welcome to another session of our Ideas in Love, Life and Leadership. And I'm absolutely delighted today, and it's been a very tangled web that's led me to this conversation, which we'll dive into a little bit in the conversation, but to have David Hieatt, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly, David. David Hieatt with us today. And I'm going to let David introduce himself, and then as we start talking, I can kind of share some of the story, as I say, as to how we're talking today. So, David, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to me, all the way from beautiful West Wales. So, would you like to just introduce yourself, give us a little bit of background as to who you are?
So, quick background: bankrupt at 16, got thrown out of college at 18, ended up at Saatchi & Saatchi at 21. World's most creative advertising agency. I couldn't spell, I didn't know having any grammar. I was hired as a writer. I thought a colon was a disease, semicolon was a complication of that disease. But I had some ideas, and but the long or quick snapshot of that is kind of I learned to tell stories. I learned to write. I was always very much in love with brands, and so since then I've been like a serial entrepreneur. And I started Howie's, I sold it to Timberland, and now I'm really sort of spending most of my time, building Hiut Denim, which is on a quest to get 400 people their jobs back. Mm-hmm. This town is beautiful. It's so beautiful, and it's humble, and it's hardworking. It had Britain's biggest jeans factory. No one knows why, and yet for 40 years, it made 35,000 pairs of jeans a week, a bloody week. And then in 2002, that factory closed, and 400 world-class makers had nothing to make. Mm-hmm. And myself and Claire were sort of leaving Howie's, and it took us about 10 years. But this incredible thing happened called the internet, and we thought, hey, why don't we go and start a direct-to-consumer brand? And the grandmasters know how to make jeans and pull those things together, and that's what we do. And we also run as a side project, which is a beautiful thing, the Do Lectures. 150 million views of the talks in a shed that holds 100 people.
Yeah, which is fabulous. Thank you for the introduction. And in that, of course, the town that you're talking about is Cardigan in West Wales, and I grew up not 10 miles away from there. So I moved there when I was 11 and left when I went to uni, but we still own a cottage there. So we're often close by to where you are. And you'd think that's how I'd find out what you guys were doing there, and that the Do Lectures happened there, and that the jeans factory was being resurrected. But no. So I found out about all of that via James Victory. Who has spoken at the Do Lectures 2019, I think he was there. So I found James Victory, who was my very first guest on this series. Actually. In fact, the story actually goes, David, that I was so keen to speak to James Victory that I created a video and podcast series so I could invite him to come and talk to me. That's basically how it was born, right? As these things are. And talking to him and then sort of researching him, I found the Do Lectures, and I found his talk. So I'm one of the 150 million people that has watched it on there. And then from that, found you guys, found what you were doing in the factory in Cardigan, which is so near where I live. And I spent a lot of time in Cardigan when I was growing up, and just thought, such an incredible story with those three sort of different parts of what you do. Yeah. And then I started following you on LinkedIn and on Instagram, and get so much great ideas and content from you. Purchased a few of the Do books, which is the other thing obviously you guys do. And then obviously realised that James Victory did all the illustrations for the
small world. Do books. Basically, all roads lead to James Victory. I have to say, do you know what? Like James Victory, like a lot of people say, oh, this person's a maverick. He is an absolute maverick. He thinks so differently to most human beings on the planet. He is genuinely one of the most talented artists, and mostly unsung. Like, you know, people know Banksy, but they really should know James Victor, because he's really top draw. You know?
Yeah, he is. He's incredible. And I've been lucky enough to spend almost 2 years. I've somehow managed to sneak back in his school, which he created, the Creative Forest.
Really?
So I'm in his school, and I'm not an artist, right? But I like to bring a lot of creativity into what I do as a coach, into my brand, and my brand is really important to me. So I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. But yeah, he's incredible. But this isn't the James show, so let's we won't to him.
Yeah,
He's had his turn.
Like,
he's been here.
Yeah, man. Come on. Move on.
But I do want to come back to the Do lectures, because knowing that part of West Wales, right? And what I love is often your posts that I see. You've just been swimming at Munt, or you've been on Poppet Sands Beach with the family and taken amazing pictures. Two of which are my favourite places in the whole world, and I've had some of my most profound moments on those beaches, actually, for one reason or another. And as you say, Cardigan itself as a town, this beautiful town, and you're building all these amazing brands, you know, the jeans, the Do lectures, etc., from a cowshed in Cardigan, or near Cardigan. It's just incredible. So, and how did you obviously you were leaving Howie's, as you said, but how did it end up being Cardigan? What was the thread that led you there?
Well, I mean, it's a slightly complicated, but I can make a condensed short story for this. But so when I was at Saatchi's, the CEO said he was going to buy Adidas. And the reason I went bankrupt at 16 was I wanted to go and start like the next Adidas. So I'm going, oh my God. And we pitched for it. We lost it because Maurice and Charles had fallen out with Louis Dreyfus. I don't really know the backstory. So I took a £20,000 pay cut to go and work with a company that won Adidas. And so like it was the boss in this new agency. I was writing stuff and he just didn't like any of it. Like he didn't like any of it. And then he offered me to be creative director of Adidas in America. And I'm going, well, I don't need to be in America to get my ads blown out. I can do that here. And I kind of, at that point, I left there and I had all these ads that he wouldn't buy, but there was a voice. And that voice, I'm going, well, I think that voice should be somewhere in this world. And so we put it on some T-shirts and we called it Howie's. And that thing just went crazy. And I was, at that point, I was in Abbott Mead Vickers, again, really amazing agency. I was super lucky to work at some of the best agencies. And I was reading this magazine and it had the top 50 brands in the UK in the sports world. And I think Adidas was 12, Howie's was 9, and Nike was 6. And I put the magazine down and I'm going, at what point I'm going to actually take this seriously? Because obviously other people are taking it much more seriously than me. So I'm going, well, the only way to go and do this thing is move out of London, because then I decrease my costs and go back to Wales. And so then we started looking in Cowbridge, which was like just too posh. It was like barbers and Range Rovers, and you go, for fuck's sake, it drives me nuts. I mean, Waitrose would have been nice, but actually, we'd always come and holidayed in sort of West Wales, because Claire's mum and dad had a caravan in Aberporth, so we'd been coming down here. I mean, I first cycled down here when I was 18 because Claire was on holiday, and so I cycled down, bloody hilly, we'd always come down here for holidays. So you go, well, why don't we go to the place we go to all the time? All my friends in London just going, you're going where? To do what? And actually, it's been the best thing we've done. And like, I'm super proud of Cardigan. It's a no BS town. I mean, you work hard, you have good manners, they accept you. Job done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're an arrogant idiot, tricky, very tricky.
Yeah, which is kind of how it should be everywhere in the world, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
But that part of Wales does do it very well. And I grew up just outside Newcastle Emlyn, so
Okay.
and similarly has a very similar story around the jeans factory, and that there was
Sure.
a dairy factory in Newcastle Emlyn
Yeah.
that went bust, and now I believe it makes mozzarella or something.
Yeah. I know that factory. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that kind of town where it's just no bullshit, right? You know,
Yeah.
it's hard and enjoy life, which
Yeah.
I think is the other thing I certainly get from all your posts around. I know you've got two beautiful daughters that you've brought up there as well. Is, you know, it's really about enjoying life as well.
Yeah. And I mean, and don't get me wrong, I've had areas in my life, especially early days in house, I was literally just so driven, and like that I was so like in my own head. I mean, and so I've had to like learn it from not doing it that well to go and hey, and Claire's like, she never read a single management book in her life. She's much better at business than me. She kind of like, she watches TV at night, and like it's absolutely rubbish TV. Just switches off, and I'm like going, so I need to learn that. But I've sort of learned to like, you run a business, but it mustn't run you.
Yeah. And I think as an entrepreneur, we kind of go into it often with the idea that we don't want to work for someone else. You know,
Yeah.
we don't like the corporate staff. We don't want to have a boss. And then we become our own worst boss.
Oh, terrible. And we say things to, so if we had a best friend like us, we wouldn't have that best friend for long. Do you mean like we say stuff like to ourselves, going, "Oh my God, like you could never write a book, you know, like you'll never do this." You go, whoa. Who needs a best friend like us? But also it's we let our business run ourselves, and so we spend most of our time in the non-impact zone, and we go straight to busy. And at the end of the week, we go, "Oh, what have I achieved this week?" Well, you let, I don't know, your inbox be your to-do list, and the week was a disaster. Well, you know, like, "Oh, I've got to answer all these emails." No, you don't. You've got to be in the impact zone and not in the busy zone. Otherwise, running a business, the dream of running a business becomes not a dream. And it becomes this quiet desperation of going, "Oh my God, I left this huge fucking salary for this thing and I'm the stress head." And we've all been there. But the trick is not to stay there.
Yeah,
that's the trick.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about, you know, conversations with yourself, conversations with James, as well as this and various other people that I've spoken to, where, you know, it's not that as people who put out great content, who do great things, who have got a real purpose and are thought leaders and invite thought leaders to come and, you know, speak at the do lectures, etc., doesn't mean we've got it all sussed. Doesn't mean that we don't on a daily basis have to go, hang on, you've fallen into the busy trap again. Right?
But it's the thing to understand is it's a daily practice, and it's sometimes it's an hourly practice, and I fight busy every day. Like I've got 10 people asking me to do this and that. I'm going, no, the thing I need to do is the most important thing, the thing that actually is going to move the business on, and not all the other stuff. And so don't think that you're going to wake up on Monday morning and not have to fight again. It's a daily fight. It's a daily practice. The trouble is, if you don't have a set of rules for engagement with busy, busy's gonna win.
Yeah, because it's got control. So share some things about that then. What are your rules of engagement with busy then? How do you stay in that zone of it?
I mean, the thing is that like, so there's many things, right? So there's never just, "Oh, give me one thing to change my life." You go, well, it was a bit more complicated than that. So you need to have some rules. And so the rule is I have a morning routine to try and move my body, or to look after me for a little bit. Is it half an hour a day? Is it an hour a day? Is it every day? Is it every other day? But you set the rule. And so then you need another rule called an evening routine. You go like, at what point am I going to put my bloody phone down? And how am I going to actually achieve it? Because the dopamine, talk about busy being like a tough gig. Dopamine is got a few tricks up its sleeve as well. And you go, oh, there's a notification. It must be like, it's going to change my life. No, it's not. It's spam. So you need some regimes. You need like a morning routine, but also like in terms of, for me, is like, where do I make the most impact? Well, when I'm thinking about strategy, make the biggest impact there. I make the biggest impact by sometimes doing courses or writing books or actually coaching the team. Now, how much of my time is going to be dedicated to that? And how do I make sure that always happens? And so, like for me, like 2 hours writing a day undisturbed is the sweet spot. And you go, and so that's really important that I protect that. So Lisa, who looks after my diary, knows, and it's taken a while, for this to like seep through. You go, no, David, you ain't going to do that meeting at 10:30. Why? Because she knows I'm writing. And so you've got to you got to protect your practice. And if you don't have a practice, then you have an inbox, and by the way, it's going to rule your life. That's your to-do list, and it's a terrible way to run a business. It's a terrible way to run your life, and it's a terrible way to run your week, and it's leading you to like being mediocre, and stressed and overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. And constantly, you say, at the beck and call of it, because every time something pings in, every time a notification comes in, you are kind of primed for what's happening. And therefore it's reactive, not responsive, not creative, not in flow.
You're at the beck and call of somebody else's urgency. And you go, and I mean, sure, there's always going to be something where you go, actually, I need to do this. There will be exceptions. But the key thing with the practice is you have a default is to do it. The exceptions are not that bad then. Like today, I didn't go swimming. I had a bin day and got a lot of podcasts and I got some meetings. So, but my default is to go swimming. The exceptions are now when I don't go swimming. So when there's an exception, it doesn't really matter. I don't beat myself up. Oh, I didn't go swimming today. I go swimming probably 300 times a year. It's okay to miss one. And so the practice, if you don't have a practice, you really have no discipline.
And that's the important piece, isn't it? Is the discipline. The practice is how you enforce that discipline, but it's creating a discipline that comes from, as you say, what I was talking to a client about this yesterday, about morning and evening regimes as well. It's about that prioritizing ourselves and setting those boundaries so clear. Like you say, with your writing time, it's absolutely defined. The person who manages your diary knows it. Nothing gets in the way unconsciously. Like you say, consciously you can make a choice. Okay, today actually this needs to shift a little bit. But it becomes, like you say, the opposite of the default being I'm busy all the time and I make an exception to slow down or to follow the practice or the things I've put in place. It's the other way around, right? I was reading something because I do follow you on various different social medias, and I love, there was a story recently you saying about your writing practice about Taylor Swift. So for your writing, when you're writing, you have music on, right? That's how you write.
I literally can't write without music on, but I can't write even without. I have to have headphones on, so I have to be in seclusion, and I literally listen to the same music like maybe like the same track for a year, like until I can't physically listen to it ever again in my life. I've listened to it so much. And recently Tessa introduced me to Taylor Swift's new album Folklore, and so it's only like a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, I started listening to it. But like, the thing is, 2 hours of writing every day, I'm listening to music 2 hours every day. But I'm not just listening to music, I'm listening to the same music relentlessly, same track, dig dig. And I don't know the words, I don't know the track names. I just put it repeat, repeat. And so she got a notification to say, like, Taylor Swift is your #1 music choice, and you're in the top 3% in the world of listeners. I'm going thinking, wow, that's, it only took me 3 months to get in the top 3%. Imagine what I could do in 6 months.
And is that still your music of choice then for now, for your writing, or have you moved on?
For now, yeah. I mean, but it kind of, I mean, I went through a stage of low reveres, but like, it kind of depends. But the trick is, for me, is I don't want to have to listen to the music. I want the music to take me to another place, but I don't want it to hold my attention. Yeah. And so it's a really nuanced thing, and that's why I don't want to listen to new music, because that will get my attention. The purpose of the music is to take me to another place where I can release the handbrake on ideas.
Yeah. And is your creativity, that discipline of having that writing space, is within that where you find your ideas, or do you find them in other areas?
Yeah, I very seldom in that 2 hours have extraordinary ideas. I mean, I'll have the ideas when I'm walking down to work or doing other things. Really, the practice of the writing is to go and put those ideas I've already had down onto paper.
Yeah.
And so ideas, as we all know, just pop into our head at very random times. And I think you just got to be observant to that. Just be a good note keeper, and have a set of notes on your phone and just get it out of your head. I think that's super smart. So
yeah, and like you say, ideas pop into your head, in all sorts of places, in all sorts of ways, and capturing them is the important bit. So which leads me nicely to, I guess, where did the idea for the Do lectures, when did that pop into your head as a great idea?
Well, sort of backstory was we had some good relationships with Patagonia. The Howie's website definitely informed the Patagonia website. I'd written the journey of a carrot in the Howie's catalog, and that gave Patagonia the idea for Footprint Chronicles. And we were sort of helping each other out. And they invited me to their tools camp, which they have every 2 years for 80 people. And at the time, I was so up to my eyes in how he was growing far too fast, and I literally thought the answer to a company that was growing too fast was to push the accelerator even more down to the floor. So I said, well, don't worry, I'll watch them online. They went, oh, we don't record the talks. I'm going, oh, that's a bit of a shame. But at the same time, mate Tony Davison sent me a text that said, which was really random. Me and Claire at dinner one night, and he just said, don't just stand there, do something, Dick Dastardly. Which kind of was, it was kind of like that conversation. Oh, okay, it's really cool that we got Howie's and everybody loves it and it's doing really well. But what if we did some talks that would help others go and do amazing things? And so it was like when you see a road at night and you see the cat's eyes, you just want to know how to get around that bend. And we did it, really. Actually, it was the very first one wasn't actually called the Do Lectures. It was called Little Big Voice Lectures, and we were teaching people how to do this new thing called Twitter. And we were built a website. I mean, it was kind of really interesting. And at the end of it, we just said, look, should we do this again? like tell us yes, tell us no, and nobody said no.
Mm.
And even we were going, oh, it was pretty good, wasn't it? It was kind of, there was something there that was important.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, then we thought, oh, maybe we should call it the do then, because, it's a great word, and it's a verb. It's always good to be a verb.
Yeah.
And we did it, and there was no business plan. There was no expectations that there would be, after the first one, there was no expectations that would be another one,
Mm-hmm.
like none.
Mm-hmm.
And the economics for the first 5 years were miserable.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a position now that we have a wait list, and that's stressful because you want really good people to be able to come.
Mm-hmm.
But in the first years, like, we couldn't sell tickets, so which was also stressful. But the thing is, if there's anything to learn from that, is if you believe in something, you have to stick with it until you make it work. And your ideas need grit and patience and love. And if you do those things, and people go, oh, it's all right for you, the do lecture is amazing. I'm going, man, first 10 years, I didn't pay myself. And I cleaned the pigeon shit off the floor and scrubbed it. And I did the toilets. And so, yeah, but I didn't quit on it. And the lesson is, like, if you really truly believe in an idea, find a way.
Yeah.
There's always a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was just the question that I was going to ask you, is what, like you say, the first year, no expectation there'd be a second one. Then you do a second one and you struggle to sell it. And then you struggle. Is what kept you going through that? Which you've articulated there. And what's the impact you feel the Do Lectures has in the world? I mean, what are the stories that come out of people that go?
I mean, people have quit jobs. I mean, I'll tell you a funny story, and like, this is kind of like, it kind of makes me laugh. Is for a while, for 3 years, we had a sort of partnership with Virgin Atlantic, and we would be able to upgrade our speakers to first class if we bought a premium ticket, and in return for that, like 3 of their brightest people would come to the Do Lectures, and after 3 years, they went, we're gonna have to stop this. I'm going, oh no, really, I'm really happy with it. And they went, yeah, like, all of them who've come have resigned. They've all quit. And I'm going, it's not my fault. So the feedback is, like, I think the Do Lectures is really means something to people who are at a certain point in their life where they need to know whether to turn left or to turn right. And they're at the crossroads, and it helps them make a decision. And it's really, like, so people come and just go, it's not that maybe they didn't even know they were at the crossroads, but they are. And it helps them decide between this and that, should and must. And so the amount of emails we get and letters we get, you're going, oh, I can't tell you, like, how much that helped me at that moment. And I think maybe that kept going, because it was delivering fulfillment. And no matter what you do, right? So, and that's why millionaires and billionaires, like, they literally had no fulfillment making the money. And they are then on a quest to give it away in order to get fulfillment. So fulfillment is one of the 6 human needs, and you should, whatever you do, should be, like, and that's why purpose-driven businesses make a lot of sense, because they feed back into your soul, going, oh, this really matters to me, and that is the fuel to keep you going when things get tough. And by the way, there will be a point where they get tough, because there's an ebb and flow to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you one example from nature. Like, when we had our first house in Cardigan, one year, the oak tree, so many acorns that there were people from all over the area coming with buckets to collect these acorns because they were selling them. The next year, there was about 6 acorns.
Yeah.
6, maybe 4. But like, so you go from, like, nature's like ebbs and flows. And we think, oh, it's always going to be this and that. And you go, there will be times that you get tested, and you have to find the way.
Yeah, love that story. Yeah, nature does. One year it's abundant, another year it's scarce. And yeah, we do. You know, people. I guess it's that not being in control, isn't it? Ebbs and flows that happen feel like we're not the ones controlling it, and that's, you know, the reality is we can't always. But I love what you said there about feeding the soul, and I think that bit where you said there about, you know, people who are, you know, acquiring things and building up money and then giving it away to get that fulfillment. Again, it creates that distinction that you can't do both. You can't be fulfilled and get the money that you want, you know, in one package, right? And I think that's what a lot of people are discovering. And that crossroads, left or right, which way do we turn? You know, I think probably over the last 18 months, we've seen, you know, with circumstances going on around us in the world, has actually forced people to that point to go, actually, you know, where do I turn now, right? Where do I go?
No, a lot of people got off a treadmill and realized they were on a treadmill and decided they didn't want to get back on. And you know, like, and maybe that's a really good thing, where they suddenly go, I want to get off this thing. I'm just doing this because I got onto it because of whatever reason. And you know, that thing of suddenly going, I'm not doing that anymore. I want to do this. And maybe that's, you know, some of the good that can come out of this.
Yeah, I hope so. And yeah, I mean, I was very much in that place. I think, you know, I live in Kent. As much as I'd love to live in Wales, and that will happen one day again. You know, I was traveling up to London. I was spending, you know, 4 hours a day traveling to London. I had 3 young kids who were going to childminders for 12 hours a day. I mean, it was treadmill. Even though I was doing something I loved, I was already doing, you know, hunting. But actually, it forced me to go, oh, hang on, I could do this differently. And now, you know, the power of the internet and all the ways that we've learned to connect over the last 18 months that were already there, but we've kind of, you know, had to embrace them, is, you know, that has changed that whole thing. But as you say, a lot of us don't realize we're even on the treadmill. It's so unconscious.
And I mean, when I think about success, I mean, having different success metrics to everyone else always makes you more interesting. So, like, Jake Burton invented snowboarding. I mean, that's always quite good to invent a sport, so you got a good business then. But his success metric was, you know, and he's no longer with us, sadly, is, did I spend 100 days on the mountain? Metric of success. And I think if you have different metrics of success, I think that makes you kind of interesting. And I'll tell you a personal story. Is like, my dad was in the Merchant Navy, and so maybe during the summer he'd be home, and, you know, we'd all be in the street playing cricket, and we'd even design these stumps to be on cricket on concrete. And like, my mates would like knock my door and say, is your dad come out to play? And like, we would go in the street, all the street would play. My mum would make chips and like put them in tin foil, and it was like this best of times. And I remember, like, if I didn't catch it, when, oh, you big galah, and I'm like going, and then, but he would get a call from the ship owners and going, hey, you have to come back. And so he might be away for 3 months or even 6 months. And suddenly, as a young kid, I'm just going, man, like, not only my dad, but like my, you know, like the choir master for the street had gone. And I made a decision. I go, like, nobody's going to actually make a phone call to me and tell me where to go. Nobody's going to do that. I'm going to be in control of my time, regardless. And so I'm unemployable. Like, you couldn't pay me 4 million quid a year to go and work for somebody else, I literally wouldn't even think about it for a nanosecond. Not interested. There's no amount of money that you couldn't get me to go and do work for you. None.
Yeah.
So, because the thing that is more important to me is I'm in control of my time. If I wanted to go for swimming this morning and spend an hour chatting about life, that's what I do. If I want to get to the shed at 10 a.m. and write for 2 hours, it's kind of what I do. And so the success metric that you have for yourself has to be feeding your soul.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's something just to spend some time with, you know, what is that? What does my soul need, and what does that look like from success? Because so many people, they're not linked at all, are they? You know, and it's other people's success metrics as well.
I mean, and you just ask yourself, what is giving me energy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this gives me energy. This makes me feel alive. And okay, do more of that. And then what is stealing my energy? What is making me feel like yucky? Don't do much of that.
Yeah.
You know, you always have to put the bins out, right? So you go, I didn't feel like a life affirming exercise of putting the bins out, especially with a long drive I got. But you have to do that.
Yeah.
But it's only 20 minutes a day on a Friday. So your thing is spend more time where you are made to feel alive. That you just go, oh, that was the best. And less time of, and that's also with people. Like if you are spending time with people who make you feel shit, then don't spend time with them.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, and we all have those people in our lives that will make a snarky comment. You go, don't give them any of your time. Spend only the time with the people that you want to be with.
Yeah.
And cut those other people. It's hard when it's family members, right? That's tough.
Yeah.
But
absolutely. Yeah.
And then that's what Christmas is for, isn't it?
Yeah, the one time of the year you have to do it. But it's so true. And also, all, you know, in all of that, every time you cut out something that drains you, every time you cut out a person, you know, time with people that drain you or don't support you or make you feel alive, of course you create space for the people that do to come in. You create space for what does light you up. You create space. I mean, that's how I've ended up having this conversation with you, because I created time to go and spend with people who light me up, who excite me, who do something different, who have a different success metric, you know?
Yeah. And the key thing with friends, because like it's a really bone of contention for lots of people, and like there will be friends that will be right for that period of your life, and then but they will be wrong for another period of your life, and so that's okay. Do you mean it's like like and if you're growing like you know like in all sorts of ways and you know like then it's okay to then go and find a new bunch of friends. And you know, but the most important thing is your friends are there to have your back. They're not there to like bring you down. And also they're there to like you feel like, wow, God, that's amazing. Like it's all about energy. It's about management and energy. And if you leave a conversation feeling worse than you arrived, then something isn't right. Then why would you go and have that many more conversations with that same person? Because they're going to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Which I think is probably a very perfect time to leave this conversation, because I can promise you I go away from this conversation feeling lit up, feeling energized, feeling excited. I'm going to get to the Do lectures one year. It's not going to happen next year. I think you've closed now the applications for the Do lectures.
Yeah, I mean it's look, I mean it's the key thing on that, right, is because it's super nice to say, oh, we're sold out and there's a wait list, and that's super lovely. But for 5 years, it wasn't that. Like somebody bought a ticket because we were so desperate to sell tickets, we couldn't sell tickets, even though we were losing money on each one, right? Losing 200 quid on each ticket, and we still couldn't sell it. He said, I'm going to buy a ticket, and I can't even make it. That's the kind of friend you want.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just the money that he gave me, it was the confidence go, oh, there is something here. because he's a smart dude.
Yeah.
I like that. So.
Yeah. And do you know what? I love that story. I'm very blessed to have those kind of people around me. And it sounds like you have, who actually just say, just go, you know what, I'll do that for you. I can't be there. And like you say, it gives you so much more than actually the ticket sale, right?
Yeah. It's just that, I don't know, there's like, oh, like that's nice. That is nice.
Yeah. And of course, that's exactly what you're trying to create in the world, isn't it? Those people who go, you know what, I can see what you're doing there and I'm with you. Even if I can't physically be with you, I'm with you, right? I'm backing you.
Yeah. And it's sometimes you just need a little bit of encouragement. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So for next year, I'll be watching it with the other 150, maybe 200 million people by next year. And at some point when I'm next down in Wales, I'll have to drop you a note and come and I'd love to come and see
the factory. The factory is insane. Like it is. The grandmasters are the world's best jeans makers, and you just go to be part of that team is incredible. It's like I'm so lucky. So.
Yeah, and I'd love to. Maybe we can do a part 2 of this at some time, because I know you care a lot around how you work with your team there. That idea of simplifying things, of stripping back to what's really important. So we may have to do a part 2 at some point, David, if that's all right. But for now, from beautiful West Wales, please give my love to Cardigan and to the beaches there. And it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, David. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I am a woman, not here to please you. It's time to move on, cause my time is now. I am a woman, play by my own rules. I got my duvet on.